Hey, it's Rav. Welcome to Everyday Investor, the hottest investment show in the world. That's right. I said it. I don't care who knows it. This show is designed to help us grow our money. You see, often we take our precious time, we go to work, which is a great thing. We get a paycheck in order to eat. We take our time, we go to work, we get paid in order to provide. But imagine a life where money could make you money. You could work a little less if you wanted to and spend that time doing the things that matter most to you, spending it with family, friends, engaging in a purpose greater than yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Remember, whenever you're faced with any type of investment opportunity, you always want to ask 4 questions to start. Number 1, what is the ROI, the return on investment? 2, when do I get that return along with the money that I put in? 3, what is minimum investment amount needed? And 4, what is the risk, the worst case scenario? Super excited about today's show. We're talking to my really good friend. Wait for it. We'll be right back. On this week's episode, we're talking to my dear friend, Sam McDadi. Today's topic, we're going to talk about all things bidding war related.
There's a tendency sometimes to get crazy in a mad market and pay dollars that a year later you're going to regret, because understand, while this market is really crazy today, it's probably unprecedented in terms of what we're seeing. Nothing stays the same, right?
The mortgage world has changed. Has your advice? Are you looking for a modern approach to your mortgage planning process? Advice tailored to your unique, ever-changing circumstances? Whether you're upsizing, downsizing, purchasing, or refinancing, the Kyle Ford Mortgage team works with individuals and companies to custom tailor the right mortgage product for you. Working with a wide selection of lenders, we're here to serve our clients and help them achieve their real estate and retirement goals. Contact the Kyle Ford Mortgage team today, Canada's mortgage choice.
Hey, it's Rob. Welcome back to Everyday Investor. Before we talk to my friend Sam McDadi, we're going to learn what's happening in the world of stocks. Over to you, Omar.
Thanks, Rob. Omar Khan here, guys, with Data Trading Weekly Market Update. Just want to let you know what's going on. The markets are in a bit of a holding pattern right now. Why? Because no one really knows how the vaccine is going to roll out, or how it's going to continue to roll out, or if it's going to be a further lockdown because of these variants. So the markets don't like uncertainty, and they look forward. Markets value today what the earnings of these companies are expected to be at in 12 months from now. So because of all this uncertainty, the markets are kind of doing a bit of nothing. Going up one day, going down one day, going up one day, going down the one day. Expect this to continue until earnings season starts later on this month. And then the corporate earnings and the forecasts of these CEOs will dictate where the stock market heads in the future. We're pretty optimistic here. We think the rollout's going to go well, along with all the stimulus measures are going to cause a lot of upward momentum in the economy, and thus corporate earnings, and thus the stock market. But let's see what happens. Anyways, back over to you, Rav, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Omar. We'll tune in with you next week. Sam McDadi, my friend, I miss you so much.
I miss you too, Rav. It's been a long time. Great to see you. You look great as well.
Thank you. You do as well. Purple looks good on you. Any color looks good on you. But, I miss playing cards with you. I miss talking life and, of course, real estate. If there's anybody that I want to talk to about real estate, Sam, I've been doing this show 17 years. I had my brokerage in the early 2000s. But where I went, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but I used to always go to sammcdadi.com. I clicked on articles. And that's really where I learned a lot about real estate in the early 2000s, was from you. And here we are 15, 20 years later. And, I want to ask you this. What keeps you excited? What keeps you passionate about helping people buy, sell, invest? Because you've always got a smile on your face.
I've been very fortunate. I found a vocation that really fits my personality, my makeup. And the passion's never waned. And it's been 31 years. And I've been very blessed that the enthusiasm, the zest for this business has never gone down. And I think that's going to be the case for hopefully the next 30, 40 years. So, if you're fortunate enough to find a passion or your vocation where you're passionate about, and you don't feel like it's work, then, you're blessed.
You've done incredibly well. And you've also done some really innovative things. I mean, we're going to get into, how to succeed from the seller standpoint and from the buyer standpoint when it comes to bidding wars multiple offers. Here we are in the spring of 2021, and it seems like every house is being sold and bought that way. But prior to this, I mean, you're one of the originators of even an auction. Talk a little bit about the auction and who's the right demographic for it, what you think about it, and do you still do the auction, which is a little different than the bidding war. Talk a little bit about that.
Rob, we've talked about that in the past, but, we want to be a little bit cutting edge, and we had some really high-end homes that weren't moving, and a lot of these clients were fairly affluent, and it was kind of money-time trade-off. So we suggested maybe going through the auction route and, maybe giving up 5 or 10 points, but having cash in hand now versus maybe a year or two down the road. So we tinkered with 4 auctions, and we had great success, and it's certainly one of the tools we utilize. In the last year or two, we haven't really had to use it because the market's so buoyant, but it's certainly something we'd consider using when the market isn't as strong and there's a client that wants to sell their house and is not, worried about maybe shaving off 5 or 10 points to have the deal consummated.
And we're talking $4, $5, $6, $7 million homes, which you've taught me, sometimes they can take a good 18, 24 months to sell. So if you set it up auction, and let's say I have a $5 million home, $300,000-$400,000 doesn't mean much if I can get the money today and put it back out there.
Exactly. And ironically, Rav, in the past, I'd have said 4 or 5 would have been the sweet spot. Today, those are getting multiple offers. So I'd probably move that needle to 7 to 10 million is where we probably consider doing auctions. But, we had a property in Mississauga trading just under 5 million. We had multiple offers within 2 days. And historically, that's maybe a 3 to 6 month exercise. So just tells you how fluid the market is today.
Why does Sam McDadi still, boots on the ground? I mean, you have such a dynamic business, and you have many different agents and speak, all the different languages, and that was strategic. But Sam still is actively involved as well, and I don't really see that. And there's no right or wrong. But how come Sam's not more way behind the scenes as opposed to as in front as you are? And, and you're selling the professional athlete's home, but you're also selling, the school teacher's home. Is it just a labor of love? I mean, why is Sam so active as opposed to behind the scenes and letting, his business just work?
Yeah, and many people feel, the similar viewpoints that, Sam's probably just sitting on his, high horse chair and not really working. But I'm in the business every day. I'm actually transacting every day. I mean, lately I'm doing 2-3 transactions myself daily, and it's the passion. I love it. I love meeting with people, my past clients. I'd never want to let them down. So if I have a relationship with them, I'm going to continue that relationship. And if they've given me referrals, I'll be front and center dealing with them. And I think the minute that passion wanes, which hopefully never does, because so far in 30 years it has not, I'm going to continue being in the field, and it really makes me happy. And so as long as I'm happy doing what I'm doing, I won't stop that. Of course, we've got a great supporting cast, a great team, and they help put it all together for us, and we've had great success. But I like being in the trenches, and also I'm able to teach from real life examples versus theoretical, right? So when I'm talking to my team, I can give them case studies that happened last week, not 10 years ago, that we're trying to learn from that really have no relevance. So that also helps us from a day-to-day perspective. And my teammates know they can call me pretty much, I say I'm not good at too many things, but real estate I've got down pretty good, right? So people ask, my teammates call me on real estate. I've seen everything with, probably 13,000 transactions under a belt. There's not too much I haven't seen or a derivative of that as well too.
Well, that's what makes you one of the best. That's what makes you a great guest. And so thank you for nurturing myself and our viewers. I'll say this, that's what's very inspiring and attractive about the way you do business. I love, and there's no right or wrong to it. I mean, I love the fact that you are active, that you are actually doing this, and that makes kind of the best teacher to the many of the people that you nurture in your office. Okay, so help us with bidding wars. What is it? What are your thoughts around it? From the seller point, the buyer's point, maybe you have a 2-3 step process. Teach us, and I'll throw some stuff up here on the screen.
So it's interesting because typically speaking, more often than not, we're pricing properties with maybe a 3 to 5% buffer for negotiating. Obviously, the market is fluid as it is now, and with the scarcity of product, low inventory, and high demand, it's made sense to go through the bidding war process, right? And what that really means is, let's say I meet with the seller A and we decide on a price. And it's interesting, Rav, at this point, pricing doesn't matter as much. You don't have to be on point with pricing because the market's going to adjust to its natural levels. So let's assume a property's worth $1 million. And by the way, past data doesn't matter today. So you can't really look at past data and say, oh, this empirical data suggests the value is here, because you can throw that out the window. Because if you're going to rely on that as a buyer, you're going to be snookered for sure, right? So if you got a property for $1 million, traditional pricing model might be, well, let's list it for $1,050,000, throw a little bit of a buffer for negotiating and see what comes of that. And you have to be really bang on with pricing, because if you miss the market price, people weren't necessarily paying over ask price. Today, it really doesn't matter. You could put 800, 850, 900. We don't have to be on point on pricing as much, because the market will adjust to its natural level. And what you really want during the bidding war process is a lot of foot traffic. So during that 1 week period, you want to get as many people through the house as possible. So if you price it too high, you don't achieve that objective. So we want to go a little bit lower, but not so low where you may not get right to the top, right? So I think going to 500 to try and get to 1.2 or 1.1 is difficult. If you're 800, 859, you'll get there maybe plus some, right? So what do we tell our sellers? Okay, here's what we need to do. We need to do this really quick, because right now the supply-demand quotient is in your favor. That's not a forever phenomenon. This is a brief moment in history where we're seeing this madness. And we thought 17 was crazy before the 15% non-resident tax. And I know Rav and I, you conversed about this quite a few times, but this now we've trumped that period. Like, we're way stronger than 17, which really defies all logic, because we're going through an era where we're going through a pandemic. There's a lot of industries hard hit, be it, I guess hospitality, retail. Interest rates obviously are a big factor. You've got sub 2% 5-year money, some false wage subsidies. So really the math, it shouldn't really be this strong. I mean, it doesn't intuitively make sense, but of course, as a seller, take advantage of this craziness, right? Because this is, I think in 2-3 months, you'll probably see more of a healthier equilibrium, and it won't be quite as frantic. But as a seller, let's say, Rav, you're the seller, we meet with you, we'll say, listen, Mr. Seller, we should get your house on the market ASAP. We don't want to lose time, because every week counts. And there's a slight changing of the guards, nothing noticeable, but in the trenches we see it. So we want to get you in and out before the market turns, right? Turns in that you're not going to get 15, 20, 30, 40 offers. That normalcy will probably come back, right? So we want to get, firstly, we get our inspector in ASAP to pre-inspect the house. Why? Because we want a condition-free offer, right? Because we don't want anybody coming with conditions. And sometimes a buyer might say, well, I need an inspection. Well, here's your inspection report. In many instances, buyers either do a pre-inspection or they're okay just taking their chances. But we want to make sure we've got that inspection report in hand so we don't leave anything to chance. We had a deal a few weeks ago where it was a really big number and they had a conditional inspection. I said, honestly, we've got a report. We'll send it to you. We want a firm deal. We gave it to him. He looked at the report. He walked out of the deal. We were good with that, because otherwise he would have tied us up and we would have lost all momentum. So that was important. So we took offer number 2, which was clean. If we didn't do that, we'd have, the momentum is really key here. You lose momentum, then you're going to leave money on the table. Number 2, we want to make sure the house looks really nice. So of course we get our stagers in there real quick to kind of provide a consultation, furnish and accessorize as required, because you want to put your best foot forward visually so you get the best possible outcome. And you want to do it in a time-efficient manner, because time is of the essence, especially today, because we do think in a month or 2, it may not be as crazy, right? So now we go from there straight to marketing, photography, videography, all the right things to have a really good virtual experience, visual experience, and then you run it. You get on the market, right? And some people have different strategies. Rav, some will say, I don't want preemptive offers. We're going to look at offers on Sunday. I don't care what you come in with a Wednesday. We're waiting till Sunday, right? In our world, we're okay with preemptive offers, because it just means you're accelerating the date you look at offers, right? So
what's the rule on that? So let's say, how many days do you like typically? So if we list on a Tuesday, Sam, when do you like to take offers?
5 to 7 days, and I want to make sure I get a weekend in there. So if I go on a Tuesday, I'm fine with a Sunday night or a Monday night, but I want to make sure a Saturday, Sunday is included in the mix, because a lot of times people are only available on the weekends, and we don't miss that segment of the market as well.
Okay, so and then with a preemptive, other people call them bully offers. Like basically what you're saying, if you list on a Tuesday, some people may want to throw an offer Wednesday or Thursday, but there's agents out there, not McDadi's team, but will say, no, you've got to wait. Let's say Sam's listing a property exactly like this. We put it on a Tuesday, and Rav comes with an offer on Thursday, but there's been 20 people that have seen it in that 48 hours. What does, is there a duty that's owed to those other agents? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves in trouble. So anybody who has shown it, we must call them, let them know while we're aiming to look at offers on a Sunday, we've got a bully/preemptive offer, which the seller wants to entertain. We're giving you an opportunity to come to the dance floor. And if you need time, let us know. We'll certainly give you time. And not only that, we also have to call anybody who's planning on showing it the next day or two, because they want to make sure they're aware. I know you booked the appointment tomorrow. Can you get in today? Because we have a bully offer. The seller doesn't want to let go. So we'd love to give you the courtesy of getting you in the house and seeing if you want to come to the party as well. That's mandatory, because if we don't do that, we could have like a problem with RICO, because people are expecting offers to be on Sunday. So we want to make sure, and also remove it from the listing. Offers of any Sunday night, 7 p.m., register by 6. Any reference to any multiple offers has to be removed from the listing as well.
So what that leads me is there's some agents that say, oh, we can see this on Saturday. I'm not even going to book an appointment because Sam's not taking offers till Sunday, Monday. You're saying, no, book the appointment, because if we do get a bully offer, at least you'll get to know, and then you can re-strategize.
Yeah, exactly. Because the one missing link, exactly that, Rob, is people who have had planned to book an appointment, but it's not on the system. So we have no way of kind of reading minds. Oh, they want to book an appointment. So it's important now for agents to recognize, even if you're booking one 4 days down the road, book it today. So it's on the system. So we can at least call you and let you know, hey, listen, we do have a bully offer. You're on the system. So if you want to try and show it earlier, we'd welcome that opportunity.
Hey, listen, you're not just a pretty face, hey, with a nice purple sweatshirt. This is Sam McDadi, folks. We're learning a ton. He's teaching us best practices when it comes to bidding wars from the seller's perspective. Hopefully we'll get to learn also from the buyer's perspective, or perhaps we'll have to have him back next week. Don't go anywhere. Sam McDadi is with us. We'll be right back.
At Theta Training, our goal is to help you achieve financial freedom by teaching you the foundations of trading stock options. Join our growing community. Learn through our live-streamed weekend course, or develop your skills at your own pace online. Understand how the stock market works and how you can use the options market to earn additional income. Achieve financial freedom and live life on your terms. Let us help you build your empire.
Hey, it's Rob. Welcome back to Everyday Investor. We're talking to my good friend, Sam McDadi, expert all things real estate, learning about the bidding war strategy. Before we continue with Sam, let's go to our mortgage specialist, Kyle Ford. Over to you, Kyle.
Thanks, Rob. This week, we're going to talk about the new announcement. The government of Canada and the regulators are looking to increase the stress tests. Now, what is the stress test? On January 1st, 2018, the regulators and the government of Canada announced the B20 guidelines. What this was an attempt to cool the housing market, to restrict borrowing capacity. Now, as morphed and changed over the last several years, the market has continued to grow. The government feels the need that they need to intervene again. So what they're doing is increasing the qualifying rate, or looking to, as of June 1st, increase the qualifying rate. My advice to you, don't get stressed out about the stress test. Work with a mortgage broker that not only understands all your unique borrowing needs, but as well as has access to lenders that may not fall under the same B20 guidelines, i.e. credit unions. As you are working towards your mortgage planning goals, now more than ever, it's so important to be working with a broker who understands not only the rules and guidelines as they continue to change, but also lenders that may have solutions outside those. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, and back to you, Rav.
Thanks, Kyle. We'll touch base next week. Sam, thank you so much. I've already learned so much here. So basically what we're saying from a seller's perspective is, let's say generally the house is worth market value $1 million. You would list it at, 150 or so, $1,050,000. But in today's market, we can put it at, 800, 900. You don't want to go too low, but we're trying to create a frenzy. The most important thing is to get as many people into the home as possible. That's why, Sam, we really shouldn't be impressed by this much over asking per se, because somebody could put the house at $1 and sell for $1 million. And guess what? We got $1 million over asking, or, 999. The key is to get the exposure, have a pre-inspection done so that the buyer, we want him to come in clean. He can see what he has to be able to do and remedy, get it staged, which, there's not a lot of brokerages that provide this. I know the McDadi team provides all these kinds of things. And then we want to get it on the market ASAP, because Mama Toor always taught me that when there is more demand than supply, we're in business, and you're already seeing things change. Here we are, April in 2021. You're already seeing things change with more supply coming on the market. So before we get to the, from the buyer's point of view, what else should a seller be thinking about when it comes to creating a bidding war?
Rob, the last important point is you might have 10, 15 offers and one might be really strong and you're asking 900, you get 1.3, 1.4. One of the challenges that you have to be mindful of as a seller and the seller's agent is the property going to appraise? Because right now appraisals are a concern because some of the properties are selling for really hefty dollars. And so the capacity for the buyer to be able to close a deal, even if it doesn't appraise, is really paramount. So one of the questions I ask the agents is, how much are they putting down? If it doesn't appraise, do they have the capacity to make up the differential? Because if they don't, you sell it for a lofty number, but it doesn't close. And then you're really snookered. So a lot of realtors are just really excited to see the big numbers. They're not thinking it through in terms of, is this really going to actually come to a successful closing or not? And one of the key questions is the financial capacity of the buyer, which must be addressed. And equally important, you want to make sure when you're representing a seller, you get a big deposit, because if the market turns and the deposit is small, they could easily exit from the deal. And of course, there's litigation, but that's a 2-year or 3-year process. Most people don't want to go down that road. So get a hefty deposit. The insurance is glued to the deal. That's really important today.
And so on $1 million home, 1.1, 1.2, what does that mean to Sam? 10%? What is it?
10% is nice, but it's also a time money trade-off. If you're closing in a month, I'm not as concerned. If it's a 5-month closing, and sometimes sellers are saying we want a 5-month closing, and we don't disagree with that because maybe more inventory opens up, and maybe it's not going to be as crazy when they buy after they've sold their house for lofty dollars. But understand, if you don't have a big deposit, and the more time there is, the more things can go wrong. So the deposit's paramount. If it's a longer closing, the bigger deposit. If they only have a certain amount, get a staggered deposit. Well, cash out some RSPs or whatever you have and give us another 50 or 100 in 2 weeks so that there's glue to the deal. So if the deal doesn't go the right way, then you've got some insulation.
Sam, 17 years of doing this, no one's taught it the way you're teaching it. This is brilliant. So from a seller's point of view, pay the $300, $400, $500, get a pre-home inspection, get it staged, make sure you get it on the market ASAP. Don't wait. Listen to guys like Sam who are nurturing you in this. But this one, I love this. You're saying, and then make sure you qualify that buyer and make sure your agent knows the questions to ask in order to qualify. And with that is a hefty deposit just in case something were to happen. Okay, so this is from the seller's standpoint. Now, what about from the buyer? So now I'm going into, Sam showed me a property. It was listed on Tuesday. Offers are on Sunday. I saw this property on Thursday. So Sam took me to see this property, and Rav is a good husband, and his wife loves it. So Sam, we really want this property. It's listed at $900K. You think, generally speaking, the value generally is about the 1 mil mark, but we're not in, general times right now. So what do we need to do?
Well, the first thing is, and you want to have a good relationship or rapport with the listing agent, right? So I'll call the listing agent. Let's call him John Smith. John, listen, we just sold showed the property. You're listening. Our clients love it. They'd like to potentially put a preemptive offer. Is there any expectations your sellers are looking for, right? And he might say, listen, they don't want preemptive offers. We're not entertaining them, right? Or yeah, they would. I mean, if it's $1.05 million, they would look at it, for example, right? So then I'd go back to you, Rav, and say, Rav, listen, they entertain a bully offer, but you need to be at least $1.05 million. We've got to be clean. And so what I would then do, if let's say you're interested in moving forward, we have our own in-house inspector. We'll get in there real quick to pre-inspect because we want to make sure you can go clean with no encumbrances in terms of conditions. So you now pre-inspect. You've got a bank draft in hand because it's really important to have a bank draft in your hand as a buyer. Nowadays, you might wire it because people are presenting virtually like we're doing one tonight. But the bank draft is also an important element because in 17, when the market was mad, this market actually trumped 17 in my opinion. But back then I remember doing a few listings and people came in and these agents I knew, and the odd time I let my guard down and he said, don't worry, I'll have a bank draft tomorrow. If you guaranteed, Sam, you take my word on it. The bank draft never came. And I'm like, oh my God, we lost all the momentum. So my rule of thumb is I want the money in hand because if the buyer doesn't about face, we're snookered and we lost all our momentum. So the bank draft just gives people security, and a listing agent will give a whole lot more weight to somebody who's got a bank draft. And obviously, condition-free offer is almost like a prerequisite to going competing. If you have any sort of conditions, you're not going to win.
Sam, you said something that's paramount. Paramount. I can't stress it enough. Your agent, if I'm the buyer, my agent needs to be great at relationships, because that can't be further from the truth. Sam's Rav's agent. He is talking to the listing agent and building that relationship, building that friendship, because there might be 15, 20 offers. And all of a sudden, I'm the listing agent. I'm going to take Sam's call. I'm going to take his text because he was on this. He was cordial. He was friendly. He wasn't trying to, manipulate or anything like that. And so relationship is key. If they have their own pre-inspection done, like you said, the seller should, if it's yours, do we still do our own, or do we go off, if it's a reputable inspection company, do we go off that?
That's exactly, if it's reputable, Carson Dunlop did one, for example, then we're fine with that. We'll look at that. In the absence of a pre-inspection report, we want to get inspection done just to make sure there's no surprises for our client. That's really important.
Now, when the offer, and most say this in the broker notes, which, the guy on realtor.com or CA can't see, but on the broker notes, it says no preemptive offers until, we were going to take them on Sunday, no bully offers. Does Sam still slide one in because that agent needs to show the seller regardless, or do we not do that? Or does it depend?
I'll place a casual call just to get a lay of the land and say, listen, I know you've set offers Sunday. I've got a client who's really hot to trot. I mean, they're going to be looking at other properties. They'll give you a really strong offer. Would you consider rethinking that position? Because this buyer may not be around 4 or 5 days. They may or may not be. And I respect your client's position, but I think you're going to have an offer that's going to be really substantial, and you clients might want to rethink that. And then
so it's a conversation as opposed to doing the paperwork and sending it.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have a discussion first, because they might just say, Sam, we said this. So, I mean, out of respect, I'll have that dialogue first. And in fact, they're not going to do anything till Sunday. Then we just have our clients sit on the sidelines, wait, or if something else comes up, which can happen. And that's why I'm a believer of preemptives, because you don't know what tomorrow holds, what the future holds. So if I've got a really strong offer today, from a seller perspective, I'm just running the offering process earlier. I'm still doing all the things we talked about, all the necessary steps, but I may not have that offer on Sunday. And I've seen that play out where sellers, the problem in this day of age is, unfortunately, greed exists, right? So, I mean, you're seeing some really lofty numbers, and sometimes you get numbers that are crazy and the sellers still want more. And we have to kind of put the brakes on and say, guys, honestly, take a step back. A year ago, do you think you're going to sell your house for this? So, I'm not sure what your expectations are, but this should by far exceed anything you ever thought or, dreamed of getting, right? And then hopefully they have a reality check and realize, yeah, we're doing great here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
That's a great point. It's not, buy low, sell high, not buy lowest, sell highest. That's gambling, right? So, Sam, we've got about a minute left. What else with the buyer?
Well, listen, I think this is a really important point, and we've kind of stressed this to all our buyers, because the market's so strong today, so buoyant. There's a tendency when you lost 5, 6 offers, you say, I don't care. I'm just going to pay whatever my next offer, right? I think as a real estate to provide proper real estate counsel, you want to tell your buyers, listen, I'm not going to let you go beyond a crazy number, because next year you might be offside. So you have to also protect your client's position. There's a tendency sometimes to get crazy in a mad market and pay dollars that a year later you're going to regret, because understand, while this market is really crazy today, it's probably unprecedented in terms of what we're seeing. Nothing stays the same, right? So sellers should get on the market ASAP. Buyers should also exercise caution and understanding that there'll be days where you can buy things more normal circumstances. So don't get caught up too much in this bidding war frenzy. Put a cap on what you're ready to pay and don't exceed that, because exercise some discipline. That's important, because otherwise a year down the road, you could be offside.
Sam, time's up. Love you. Thank you for being my friend personally. Thank you for nurturing so many people for, over 3 decades. I know agents that work in your office. They say nothing but incredible things. And yeah, you're a relationship guy and a smart guy. And please come back and be on the show again.
Rav, it's a pleasure seeing you. We miss you, and hopefully you'll come back to the Feld soon when normalcy returns as well. Lots of love.
Lots of love to you too. And lots of love to you guys watching the show. Without you, we wouldn't have one. Thanks so much. Make sure you tune in next week. Same place, same time. Honey, I love you. I'll be home soon. Bye, everyone.